Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for that lovely music we've just been playing. I do apologise for everyone who's sitting online at the moment. The lovely Sydney traffic, even though we're these partly lockdowns, has caused a few little bit issues. So I do apologise for everyone who's waiting online. Thank you everyone for coming tonight and who's actually online. I'm Tim Hill, I'm the Managing Director of Aten ANZ. I'd just like to really welcome everyone here, this great venue that we're actually at, and thank you for the offer to actually come here. You can see we've got lots of equipment and all here, which is great. It actually will help the discussion from our special guest presenter who's coming after myself. So that's really it. Now, we're in troubled times at the moment with COVID, as everyone knows. We can't go out, visit, we can't go to different places, schools, churches, presenting solutions like what you're going to see here tonight. It's just become a lot more difficult, a lot more challenging. So hopefully out of tonight, you'll get a sense of what Aten can actually do, okay? Just quickly, and I jumped ahead of slides a little bit quickly, Aten's been around about 40 years. So if you start over in the corner over here with our dog, that's what Aten started with 40 years ago, an alarm dog. Right? We've come 100 or 1,000-fold to putting technology together to help both big industries, small home office environments, professional AV, the AV that you're actually going to see tonight. So we've really looked at what the industries want, how we can apply technology to it and make things work. Okay? So, I don't want to talk too much, but I do. What I would love to actually do is ask Adrian from Start Webcast. See, this is when you're not prepared really much because I got thrown into this in the deep end this morning, right? So just give you a little bit of an idea. 15 years of knowledge, right? Plus, he's, look, I mean, I'm not going to take his thunder, right? But webcast, AV, commercial things. He's here, he's got the expertise. He gave me a story earlier this afternoon about what he's got in his backyard or his shed. Blows me mind, blows me away, right? So I'm going to hand across to Adrian. He's going to dazzle you. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Mark. Thank you. Now, the most important thing for me is to start my timer because I have half an hour, but I'm only going to try and speak for 20 minutes and I will talk everyone underwater. So we'll also like to thank GSUS4 is where we are tonight. So this gorgeous venue with everything that you can see around you with all this stuff. They are also on the shelves with Aten products. But I am not usually the one speaking. I'm usually the one behind the technology, and I'll talk to those points when we get through to it. So if I'm a little bit stiff, if I'm a little bit unclear, I apologise. I'm usually the tech guy. So who am I? My name's Adrian Davis, as it says on the screen, which you can see. And if I point down that way to the camera, you can see that I'm down there. Who am I? I am a 30-something guy who's been doing streaming for way too many years, and I'll talk to that. I don't like the looming 40 which is coming, but that's just the way it is. I've been a multi-instrumentalist musician. I've worked for top-tier professional services organisations doing unified communications. I speak way too fast. I play with way too much gear. And my whole ethos in what I do is to be ethical, to be solutions-oriented, and to solve problems. I love solving problems. And the biggest problem that I love to solve is helping people communicate. So that's what unified communications is with video conferencing. That's 17 years of stuff. And live streaming, which I'll show some photos of a bit later. What I do, so I have a day job and I have a side job. The side job is Start Webcast. It's been had to be rebranded recently, about 3 years ago, because my old name, which I'm going to divulge, which I don't normally, it's called The Music Nerd. So I've been running The Music Nerd since 2002, and it just didn't have the corporate spiel. What we do is, so at Start Webcast, we don't go to clients, so you've probably never heard of us, and you probably never will. We get called up by industry professionals going, we have this weird problem. We want to get a projection mapping of someone live from a video camera in the other side of Australia onto this big robot, and then we pull people together to do all that kind of stuff. So we do weird and wonderful things. And with the influx of Zoom security issues, we've got a whole full stack of the big brand unified communication stuff. We also do have Aten products. I think that's how I got kind of roped into this. So I started way back, which I'll talk to as well. So as a musician, I got frustrated with the audio being terrible. So I went off to uni and did a degree in music, focusing on production. And when there, got stuck with the whole thing going, yeah, the video doesn't look very good. How do we fix that? So it's again, problem solving it. Why I'm speaking, I talked to that because Aten invited me. So this is I'm not doing this. I got permission from Keith to put this photo up. This is a very good close mate of mine, Keith Flannery, and I, back in 2003, doing a live shoutcast radio show that we used to run every single day, fully automated back then. But we'd do live shows. This is at one of his birthdays, and we had an audience of 311 people. So to say that I've been doing this for a long time is somewhat true, which is nice. So I'm talking about live streaming 101. Welcome to live streaming. Hey, we're doing it tonight. And I guess that's why everyone's kind of here, is to learn a little bit about that. So live streaming 101 is quite simple. You want to get your content online. So you start with a camera, you put the camera up, you push record, and you start doing that, and the audio's terrible. Sound like you're in a big Greek bath or something like that, because the echo's terrible. So you go, okay, you know what? I'm going to upgrade. I'm going to get a microphone kit. I'm going to put a lav on. And all of a sudden, your audio's great, but you still got to go and edit it. So you go, well, hang on. I want to do this live. So how do we do it live? Tonight, we're actually using this bad boy down here, which is the Aten Streamlive HD UC9020. It's the one with the iPad. That's the easy way to think of it. And then you go out to the internet, and from there you go out to whatever platform. Tonight, we're going live on YouTube. That's live streaming 101. So live streaming 102. This is where things start going wrong. You get the equipment, you plug it in, and you don't know exactly where things are going. And these are the things that they don't tell you in live streaming, so how to get around those, and I'll talk to those as part of what I'm trying to do here tonight. 15 minutes 30. Again, talking too fast. So these are the kind of crazy things that I get up to in my fun time. That's a room full of people with two live presenters from New York and in England, I think we were for that one. Here's another live show. So this is the kind of live streaming stuff that we get up to for fun. The most important thing is a timer. As I said, I can talk forever, and I don't want to do that, so timers are incredibly important. Right down to live streaming from people's lounge rooms, because that's what you do at Christmas time, apparently. So that's just a little bit of a glimpse. But what's probably the crux of my talk is the 5 most important things of live streaming. So number 5, audio. It's just the most important thing in my opinion, but I put it at number 5. So it's the most important technical component. I'm doing something I said I shouldn't do, which is read off the slides. So if you can't hear me on the live stream, that's a problem. If I sound muffled, if I sound distorted, if I sound distant, that's not great. You can't hear. It's also not very good for the transcription algorithms, so the live captioning services. They won't be able to pick up through that noise. Number 4, lighting. So we've got a range of different cameras. We've got Sonys, we've got Fujifilms. You never know what you're actually going to get at home. So any camera is really bad in poor lighting. And I'm doing another bad thing. I'm popping the microphone. Number 3, content is king. Doesn't matter if I pop the microphone. Doesn't matter if you can't see me. As long as what I've got to say is important. And I think I've done a very bad job of that one. But that's the most important thing. As long as the content's there, doesn't matter about the rest of it. Except content's not king. Because if you can't be seen, you can't be heard, how are you going to make sure people are going to keep their eyeballs on your content? And live streaming, preparation is the most important thing. What you don't see is the team from Jeffrey, Phoebe, Mark, everyone here at 3 p.m. today, 3 p.m. Wednesday, testing the internet, testing everything, making sure it all works, and things still go wrong. They always go wrong, but it's how you are prepared for those things that do go wrong. That great old adage, one who fails to prepare is prepared to fail, and how to fix it in pre-production. So, I'll give you a little break from me yapping at you and show you a little bit of what we get up to.
Special thanks to the guests, which will come on the screen shortly. In the US, it's 11 p.m., and in the UK, it's 4 a.m. So they're making a big effort to be with us here today, and we're right in the middle of the day, so it's good for us.
I'll give you some fresh perspectives. I'm not sure exactly how insightful they'll be, because a lot of the themes that we're seeing in the UK to do with MiFID are ones that we largely expected a few years ago.
What we have seen is the big investors are trying to push the SEC to allow a similar procedure as is seen in Europe.
Have the physical meeting, but make sure that others can participate online, ask questions, vote online. We're very big supporters of that, which utilises technology.
All right, that's a little bit about us. That's what we do. That video is actually from 6 years ago, so it's not new because, again, we don't usually go out to market. And I kind of want to talk about why I've chosen live streaming 102 to talk about, because you've got the equipment or you're about to purchase the equipment. What are the things that you don't know that people don't usually tell you? So equipment. We're using Aten, as I said before. Shock horror, it's an Aten event, so I'm going to talk about Aten. And in the video production world, so when you make a video for YouTube, you think about, okay, I'm going to make a video on how to bake muffins. Okay, great. You go out, you plan what muffin recipe you're going to make, you go through that process, and you go, okay, great. That's called pre-production. Fantastic. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to shoot myself. I'm going to get all this stuff. You go into production. You start. You talk to the camera. You go, hey, I'm making muffins today. Fantastic. Look at my muffins. Oh, I need to get close-ups of the muffins. You go and get close-ups of the muffins. And then you take it all into your video editor of choice and you start editing it together. Live, you get none of that. You don't have post-production at all. It's all as it happens. So I'm pushing buttons down here on this device, which, as you can see before, so I can put myself live on screen and do all this fun stuff and put myself back up in the corner because I like being up in the corner. That's stuff that's not being done after the fact. It's all being done now. So you have to make sure everything is ready to go. So the equipment side of things, that's easy. Plug things in, do your testing, make it happen. This is much more like broadcast television, so everything has to be prepared. A team of people is very good. Products like this do make it easy for you to do it yourself. However, again, pre-production is absolutely everything. Being comfortable with the technology, being comfortable with what you're actually going to say. I am the worst at this, as you can tell. I'm usually the one behind the camera. So for me to plan all this is a complete flip, so I have to eat my own dog food to make sure that I actually do it. So audio stuff. These are the bits. Equipment. So microphones, I'm using a dynamic Sennheiser tonight. You'll notice I'm trying to keep it at the right distance from my mouth. Mixer, down the back, there's an Allen & Heath mixer down there. It doesn't matter what the brand or model number is, it's knowing how to get the most out of it. Again, microphone as close as possible is absolutely key. Processors, so there's a bit of compression and EQ and stuff going on down there before it comes down. Microphone choice is most important. So depending on what you're doing, that's going to be the most important. I think this should be fairly obvious, and I'm sorry if I'm speaking about the obvious things, but 102 is pretty introductory, 9 minutes 20. For me, I'll use anything from lapels, headsets if you're doing presentation speakings like this. When you've got a live band, one of the key things, get some audience mics up there. Actually hear the audience, bring them in. So we do a lot of live music festivals where we want to bring people in to go, we can't make it to the festival, how do we get there virtually? We bring them in with audience mics to make them feel like they're part of the crowd. Microphone placement, again, key. You don't want the microphone pointing in the back corner if my mouth's over here. Audio levels. This is one of the key bugbears of mine. I am always looking down here to make sure that my levels are right, and I can't help it. It's because I'm a tech. So the reason why I'm so keen about the levels being in the right spot, if you look at the people who are watching online now, and hello to those, leave some comments, I will come back in Q&A for that. If you are too low, you're not going to be heard. No matter how loud they turn that little phone up, that little speaker, it's not going to really crack it. So make sure your levels are up there around -10 if you want to get technical. And make sure that your mix is pretty clear. So the mix that's going on in this room is independent of the mix that goes out on your live stream. Because if you just take whatever's coming out of the speakers, if they've turned down the drums because the drummer decides they're really heavy-handed tonight, you're not going to have drums in your live stream. And then the master, again, putting some compression and limiting on to make sure everything doesn't go too loud, because if it clips, again, it's going to be distorted and sound horrible. All these slides are also available on the video, which is always good. Video, equipment, shock horror, camera. There's 3. You're only really seeing 1 at the moment. When Jeffrey comes and shows you how we've got this set up, you'll actually see some of the other shots. Lighting. Again, we're pretty lucky in this place, the way GSUS4 have set it up. They've got these really gorgeous bay lights out here, and there's a lot of practical lights in here. So lighting's great, and the camera that they've used tonight is also really good with the low light. So that's also pretty cool. Vision mixers. Again, what allows me to put myself up in the corner and allows me to put the slides behind is all there. So that's what allows us to do camera switching. Again, Jeffrey, later. Graphics. Yeah, that's pretty self-explanatory. You can see my PowerPoint slide and you can see where I am up in the corner. Lower thirds, bugs, all that stuff. Process is much the same. So, a few things here. So, background's really important. If you have a really bright window behind you and you're quite dark, it's not going to really work very well. And that talks about exposure as well. So make something that looks pretty in the background that's not distracting. Exposure, make sure the skin tones are out there. You don't want me looking like a big white light in the middle of the screen. You don't want me just, engulfed in darkness. Resolutions, there's this big fierce debate. We've got to have 4K streaming. No, unless you're a broadcaster, you won't need it. 720 is usually good for most things. 1080 if you have content, and we're going out at 1080/30 tonight because we've got slides with a lot of detail on them, so you want them to be seen as much as possible. The fierce debate that I always get into, 30 or 60 frames per second, not 25, not 24, not 50. This is me going deep dive into the rabbit hole. We have phantom cameras that shoot 1,000 frames a second, and we've done tests on major Android, iOS, laptops from Dell, HP, and all of those. All of those screens, by native default, are at 60 frames a second. That's how many times they flash the images up on you. Now, when you put a 50 hertz signal into that, or a 25 hertz signal into that, it does this weird waltzy frame doubling thing. And when you see motion, so be it whatever it is that's moving on that screen, you'll actually see that the motion will actually do this weird juddery effect. So we've stuck to 30 and 60. Even though all the lights in here flicker at 50, you can adjust that on the camera and you'd never notice it. So that's why we do 30 or 60. Super technical deep dive on 29.97 and 59.94 I won't bore you with, but it's really interesting. It's basically 30 or 60. It's every 10 minutes you lose a frame, and it's a frame numbering thing. It's if you want to go and look on YouTube, there's some really cool things about why that is what it is. The other bits of the puzzle, content, presentation, and the crash course of both of them. I mentioned my dog food before. So there's this concept in America where I learnt from another live streaming company many years ago, the concept of eating your own dog food. So if it's good enough for you, it's good enough for the dog. But if it's not good enough for you and you give it to the dog, then that's a problem. So I've failed tonight on that. And things that go wrong with that is I really did a poor job of my slides, let's be honest. I'm adhering to it, like I'm saying that I've got big, bold, clear, and not reading the slides. I should have put this earlier, so I didn't do that. But what's the process in that? So speaker notes. So I'm always actually looking down, not only at the audio meters, but I'm looking down at my notes of what I've got down here. So I know actually what to talk about, even though it seems very freeform, it's what I need to see what's going on here. Rehearsal, we talked about this earlier. We rehearsed at 3 p.m. today. We rehearsed at 3 p.m. on Wednesday, so that's pretty important. Coaching. If you are going to be on camera, there is nothing wrong with going and doing a short course on how to be on camera. It's very important. It's also very important to be very clear. Again, I'm not very good at that. I talk too fast. I'm way too enthusiastic and I get distracted by things like squirrels all the time. So I'm no good on that. But again, what I keep saying about fixing it in pre is that practice, practice, practice piece. So I was also asked to talk about some horror stories and things that have gone wrong. Okay, backups, power outages. We talked about them earlier. People tripping over power cords and pulling out your live encoder. Everything goes dark. On YouTube, unless you set the settings right, you can't come back from that. That's it, that live stream is ended. And that may or may not have happened tonight. So these things do happen. It's how do you recover from that? So the team went straight away, hey, we've got a new event, published it out to all the people, and all those people who are watching live right now, that's awesome. Thank you so much for watching. You've actually are part of the process of things that go wrong. Internet outage. Now, this is where it gets expensive real quick. Bonding cellular connections together. There are some products that do it really well, and there's some products that don't do it really well. The products that do it really well, if you've got mission critical stuff that has to go out, bonded cellular is the way, but it's not cheap. One of the products that we use over for solving problems is actually really good. It's got like a 20-second buffer on it. So I was on a live stream testing out something for a client before we put it into production. So we did a live demo show of it. And that saved me. That actually kept me paid because I was, on my own because we're trying to do it cheap for them. I pulled out all the internet connections, Telstra, Optus and Vodafone, straight out of our live stream encoder. I noticed 5 seconds later, panicked, plugged them back in, pushed them on. Is it on? 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 It came back on live. Okay, what's going on? Someone's watching at home. Has anything gone wrong? Zero drop frames. It just works. So there are products out there that save you and that will take the output from an A10 and save you in that case. People. Look at the traffic. Why did we start late tonight? People can cause those issues. And this is my biggest horror story. I had a stream going out for a health department talking about the safety of needles and the safety of how you do scalpels and all that stuff and all the cleaving and keeping it all clean. And there was a demonstration of a particular tattoo style where they tattoo the eyeball. Now I had my camera guy up on stage doing a beautiful close-up, and all of a sudden the shot just falls over and I lose my shot. It's cut to a wide. What on earth is going on? Turns out he's fainted because he's thought about it too much. And how do you recover from that? You cut to the wide, you go up and you go, hey Steve, you right? Do you want a cup of tea? Okay, you go off there, we'll keep on the wide for now. So being prepared for everything to go wrong. You can't predict this stuff. My biggest thing is interacting with the audience. And because I have 58 seconds left, I'm going to pull out my phone in a second and check if there's anything online, but questions will be in there. And knowing when to cut. Knowing when, this isn't working, we're going to cut it, we're going to do it again. And we had to make that decision tonight when things went wrong. We cut 5 minutes before we actually went live, told everyone, and started again. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. We are human, things fail. So knowing how to deal with those situations is extremely important. And again, practice. Try these things out. It's not going to hurt you. So I'm noticing no one's asleep, which is really interesting. So if there's any questions, let me know. 18 seconds, yes! Personal best. Any questions, any weird things? Problems you're trying to solve? Products? I've got 10 minutes. Yeah, sure.
My name is Ryan.
Yeah, hi, pleased to meet you. Yep.
Right, so actually I'm team leader for the online and the offline broadcasting as well.
Yep.
But the pain points for the live streams for our service is that the sound.
Mm-hmm.
Even though you put that here.
Yep.
But most of the sound system in my church is just focused on the whole sound.
Yeah.
Not for online.
Yep.
But for this kind of situation, we had to start the online stream.
Mm-hmm.
But it's too expensive to change the whole sound system for online.
Yep.
And then our equipment is not for online. But even though the equipment is quite good,
Yeah.
but, actually, to be honest, I don't know how to make it the working for both purposes.
Yep.
Online streaming and offline.
Yeah. So I think there's a couple of ways we do that. So if you look at our background's in live music production as well. So one of the reasons we get called up for festivals all the time is, again, how do we get that live sound in the room and the live sound online as good as possible for both? Because you're exactly right. And what you're talking about, it's a compromise between live sound versus the online sound. So a simple thing, rather than I understand budgets are tight. So we've done things where we've literally gone, we don't know how we're going to do this. And we've taken a single mono aux off a console, got a rough mix together, spat that into another little $200 mixer with a couple of audience mics, and then mixed it that way. So we've mixed off the aux to supplement what was going on in the room. And again, that talks about what I was talking about before about audience mics and capturing the sound of the room when you've actually got an audience and we're not in lockdown. But to balance between the two, have you got a digital mixer or an analog mixer? Perfect. So if you've got a digital mixer, you can go and grab another control device for that mixer, like an iPad, for example. I don't know what the mixer is, but X32 or Allen & Heath. You can always grab another iPad and set someone else on a pair of headphones that's going to the live stream to actually mix for the online.
You mean that there should be another engineer?
100%. Yep. Otherwise, it's just really difficult to try and get the balance right. Again, as I said, if you've got a drummer who's heavy-handed, they're not going to be in the live stream because in the room, the engineer's just going to go, no, I'm not having any of that. So that's one way of getting around it. The other thing that we do is we use a mastering processor on the end of it. Actually, Aten make no products like this. TC Electronics make a couple of devices, like a finalizer or a DB Max, which you literally plug your final stream into, and it just makes sure that the levels are in check, basically. So it stops it from distorting and clipping and going silly. And it'll bring it up if you haven't got enough level there as well.
So instead of using another device for the sound,
Mm-hmm.
just using the OBS. And
Yep.
OBS has very simple functions to just
Yep.
to add some sound effect
Mm-hmm.
inside.
Yep.
So do you think that is not enough for?
No, we've done weird stuff with OBS recently. We do a live Zoom show where we re-pip all the windows and everyone's not on headphones, so it sounds horrible. So we've got some processing in line to do noise reduction and AGC and all that. So sorry, automatic gain control, then compression, then limiting. So it automatically makes sure the levels is right because it's at 7 p.m. on Wednesday and I want to be with my baby, and it's a cheap job. I shouldn't say that. It is, that's how we saved money on that. So yeah, of course, using OBS and using filters or VST effects to do that is fantastic, but it's bad quality in, bad quality out. You can only save so much. So if you've got that separate aux, that separate mix, you don't need a second mixer for it in the bottom end of things. Again, if you're doing to 10,000 people, 30,000 people, maybe get another mixer. But yeah, you can mix it off that aux. But that trick, if you've got OBS, plug another audio device in, get some audience mics in there, get some of that room tone. Otherwise, what's the engineer doing to the room? They're only mixing for those people. You might as well grab some of their magic because when you're in a room mixing, there's something really, I don't know, when I've done it for, again, way too many years, I get really excited about it. I'm excitable. I talk too much again. But really getting hands-on with that mix and really vibing with the band. You're another member of the band. So capturing some of that energy and then just supplementing with like, oh, Adrian's a bit too much into the drummer tonight. We'll just put a bit more vocals back in. So you can get around it really easily. And do try it. Like the beautiful part about this is the practice piece, right? You go, okay, I've heard that we can get an aux and we can plug it into OBS and we can put some filters on it. There's a YouTube link where he talked about these things. I'll play it at half speed so I can understand what he said and try it. I'd love to see your results. Sweet. Anything else?
Yeah, we have a question.
Yes.
So Ian was asking, what is the preferred bandwidth and rate for internet connection when you do live streaming?
Sure. So it depends. This is the beautiful part. It's like saying, how do we fly to the moon? So there's multiple different ways on multiple bandwidths, resolutions, and so on. So I talked before about the resolutions that we like to use. We like to use 1080 and 720. We talked about why frame rates are 30 or 60 for us. 60 is very television. 30 is a bit more filmic. You can kind of put your shutter speed down and get those really smooth, glowy things as well, which is really nice. But the question was about what bandwidth to use. It depends on the platform. Facebook it changes day on day for them, so we never know what we're actually doing, but we typically do 720 on Facebook at anywhere between 3 and 6 megabit. 1080 we do anywhere between 4 and 10 megabit. The problem is always on the receiving end. Have people got enough bandwidth? With places like YouTube and Facebook, they do adaptive bitrate streaming, so whatever the people can receive is whatever they're going to get. If you're on a dial-up connection, you're going to get audio only. If you're on a really bad internet connection out in the middle of nowhere, you're going to get 160 by 120. So if your internet can sustain 4 megabit, push 2. If your internet can do 8 megabit, push 4, because you never know if someone's going to jump on and go, I'm going to download Candy Crush. And all of a sudden your internet just goes... So that's a problem. So always have those extras there. So what we're doing tonight, I think we're doing, Jeffrey, what are we doing? 1080, 30 at 4?
Yeah.
At 4. And that's going to look great. We've got, 30 meg up, 40 meg up here? We've got tons of bandwidth overhead to actually account for that. So it's always about what you can get out of there. Again, you go down the rabbit hole and you go into really expensive bonded cellular solutions and you've got Telstra and Optus and big Yagi antennas pointing at the next cell tower over, and people over there wonder why they can't get Candy Crush. That's the stuff we go into. But as long as you've got enough headroom for things to go wrong It's all okay. So 4 megabit at 1080 is cool, I guess is the answer. Yeah. Sweet. Anything else? Yes, sir. Yeah. That's okay. I'll repeat the question back if you'd like.
You just mentioned, what was I saying? The lighting.
Mm-hmm.
There was like a lighting issue with the camera, and it was
Yep.
in terms of the frame rate. And there's a solution to that. Can you speak to
Yeah,
that?
yeah, sure. So it's about the flickering of 50 hertz when you're going out at 30 or 60. That's a really simple fix. Most of the DSLR cameras will allow you to set the shutter speed at either 50 or 25. And the shutter speed is usually independent of what frame rate you're going out at. So as long as you've got a multiple of 50 or thereabouts, it's usually pretty good. We're very lucky, and again, I'm an absolute what's called GAS, or gear acquisition syndrome, is what I have. So I buy way too much stuff, and we've got broadcast equipment which allows us to do this thing called synchro scan on the Panasonics and the Sonys, which means that we can shoot at any frame rate and get, even if the lights are 48 hertz or 52 hertz, we can dial it in and it never flickers. The biggest problem with flickering lights I've found is with really cheap LEDs, and there's nothing you can do about it. There was a venue that we set up a while ago where we had that problem. I went through again, because I'm just that kind of person, and replaced all the LED RGB dimmer modules with like these $7 ones that work at 10 kilohertz, so no flicker. That took way too many hours, but it solved the problem. So it's again, for the simplest way out, if you've got that pulsating thing that you see going on some live streams, that's setting the shutter speed, so if you've got DSLRs, or setting the synchro scan on the more expensive cameras.
And what are your thoughts with the Wi-Fi versus wired, and limitations and possibilities?
Yeah.
You know, what you have, you know.
This is a big one. I also work in the commercial AV sphere, so we do boardrooms, telepresence suites, large theatres, all that kind of stuff. I will always take a cable, because the worst thing that can happen is someone can trip over and pull it out. With Wi-Fi, the landscape is so crazy. When we have to use wireless in the field, like in the event sphere, we have a little thing called an RF Explorer, which searches anything from 200 megahertz right up to about 7 gigahertz in the particular one we've got. And that allows us to see what's going on the airwaves. The worst problem about using Wi-Fi, perfect. You've done testing at 3 p.m. on Wednesday. You've done testing at 3 p.m. on Friday. You go live at 5 p.m. 5:30, people rock up. Everyone goes on Wi-Fi and downloads Candy Crush. It's the same problem. So you can't really rely on that. The only way you can get around that is to have a dedicated channel where there's no noise and point-to-point, and let no one else get on there. So we use Ubiquiti nano beams, and what else do we use? We use Arubas. We use, there's some Cisco access points that we use, and they're hidden SSIDs, and they're dedicated point-to-point links. We even use, actually the Ubiquiti do a 900 megahertz one, which no one on their phone can get onto, but will do point-to-point links. In a pinch, I'll use Wi-Fi. Absolute pinch. Otherwise, we've got drums and drums of fibre and drums of cat just ready to run out to where we're going. The other way around it, I don't mind using Wi-Fi in the bonded world, because we've got multiple internet connections being bonded together. The catch is, with bonded, is you have multiple internet connections here that go through the air up to a cloud server somewhere, or a server somewhere that bonds it all back together. There are people who say that, oh yeah, I can just add more internet connections. It doesn't quite work that way. But for Wi-Fi, get a cable if you can. Like just even, I'm thinking the other week we had one where we had Telstra and Optus didn't like us at all, and we ran 55 metres of Cat6 out to a balcony and literally taped it onto the thing with big, 40,000 milliamp batteries plugged into it to keep it powered. That's how we got around that, but it was a cable, because trying to trust the Wi-Fi. And we had Optus, I think, dropped out on that show, and yeah, it kept going because we had that bonded thing, but cable. Any other weird ones? That's it. Sweet. How about we have a look at some products, because that's much more fun. So come and have a look at the Aten stuff, and back to Mark.
Back to Tim.
Oh, why am I
That's all right. See, hadn't practiced.
See, my bad. All right, thank you.
Hey, Adrian, thank you very much. I hope that was very informative. Listen, what we're going to do now is, if you've got any more questions on the stream, please send them across now, because Adrian's we're not letting him out of here at the moment. we're actually just changing the program a little bit. We're actually going to get Jeffrey up now to actually show you the technology, okay? Once again, I really like to thank GSUS for using this venue. They're at Rydalmere, great music shop, okay? And the stuff that we've got here is just really enhanced really what you can do with a streaming product, okay? Jeffrey. Jeffrey's our, we call him the doctor, okay? He's the master of all the Aten products, so I'm going to leave you in his capable hands. Thanks.
Thank you, Tim. So I'm not a doctor, no doctorate. Just making that clear. I do not have that level of education. Sorry. So, however, I do know a bit about our products. So I put up 3 products here. One of them you can see up here. I'll show everyone on stream that product in a moment. So that's the Stream Live HD. Then we got the Cam Live Pro and the Cam Live. I've enlarged the 2 on the right because they're actually a bit smaller than that, but so you can all see them clearly. So we'll go through them one by one. Feel free to interrupt me with questions. Otherwise, I can ask you all at the end, either or. All right, hang on a moment. Yep, so this is the unit down here. We have a iPad controlling it with optional buttons down there if you want to control it like that. So I'll go through the iPad interface first. So basically, the iPad's connected to the device and it's got an app from the iOS store. Sorry about that. All right, so, and basically what you're going to see is there's 8 different scenes here. So obviously you saw earlier, you got a picture-in-picture of me or whoever was presenting, Adrian, much nicer looking. And yeah, he's denying it here. So basically, you got a picture of that person and the slides. Here, obviously, we can put in up to 3 HDMIs there. So that's 2 cameras perhaps and a computer. Only 2 of the videos will show at once. So that's how you do the scenes. You set a background, you know, maybe half the screen or a bit of the screen is yourself and a bit of the screen are the slides, a video, whatever. All right, so now there's 3 tabs here on the app. So I'm going to go to the audio one. Adrian mentioned looking at the levels. This is where you look at the levels. So I'm not going to change them because you need to hear me. I'm very important. Not. So basically, you're going to see there's the line in going up. That's how we're listening to the audio, the pianist earlier, and myself. You can set HDMI. Obviously, not really for what you're doing now, but perhaps you're streaming your game console. Then you want your gunshots or whatever happening. You don't want people to just hear you. You want to hear what's happening. And then lastly, the settings. So this is a bit important because we're talking about streaming. Without the settings, this device, So you need to put in your stream data. You got a bit more advanced settings here, but basically it's actually pretty easy to set up. I worked it out over about 30 minutes of YouTube. So yep, put in your stream URL. The stream key is given to you on YouTube and other platforms. There's a few other minor settings there. And up the top, there's a button that looks like a record button, a red circle. That's the start stream. Yep, so I'm going to go through what's down here. So you got a mirror of those 8 scenes that I mentioned you could set up easily down here. You just click the one and then you go use your little transition slider here. There's an auto or cut button. You want an automated transition or just cut straight through. The left, you got a bit of audio set up there. So basically you can change the audio. You only want the HDMI or only want the microphone. You can mute audio if you wanted that. Yep. So that's that unit down there. You see there's a nice track here for your iPad because, as I said, it's controlled by the iPad. Don't want it flopping around all over the place. So, all right. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on to the Cam Live, a bit smaller. But before I do that, does anybody want to ask about that unit down here? I'll just quickly bring it back up. So, yeah, that's a rear view if you don't have a clear view of it from the stream. So left, right audio, 6.5 jack, connects directly and encodes directly to the stream service. Other thing to mention, you can stream to 2 platforms at once. Oh, yes, sorry. Yes. Yes. So the app is available on the iOS store only. So for iPads, yes. Yep. Yes. So the control itself can't be connected to a Mac, but if you were bringing in Mac video, that may be possible, like just a HDMI output from a Mac. Before I go on, anybody on the stream asking questions? Okay. If they come in, just feel free to interrupt me or I can get to them at the end of the product. Okay, no worries. All right, so the Cam Live Pro, how's it different? Looks big, it's a bit smaller, it's got 2 HDMIs, and it's got the XLR with phantom power, so you can plug in your microphone. You'll notice there's no actual network connection on the back of that. The reason being, it connects directly via USB 3.0, so to your computer, it'll look like a webcam. Just like a webcam, you plug it in, and it works. Oops, sorry. Right, so, yep. So one thing though, it does have Bluetooth. And why does it have Bluetooth? The reason is, you see there's an app there, that's your Android or iOS app. And you'll see a little picture of Mount Fuji. Obviously someone's decided to sit in the couch in front of Mount Fuji. I don't know why, but anyway, so they're not actually in front of Mount Fuji. We use something called a chroma key. And we've sliced that video together with someone sitting in front of a couch. So you see up there in the settings, you'll be able to set the chroma key and you'll have profiles, actually 8 profiles, just like our big stream live over here. Similar audio settings, you can set your audio levels here too. And that's the advanced settings for the chroma key. Right, so you'll notice at the slides I put advanced, intermediate, and this is a smaller setup. This is pretty much just your camera or your game console directly in as a USB-C, or there's a little adapter in the package, so you don't have a USB-C computer, that's okay. So that one, basically for that one, you don't have a lot of money, you don't have a lot of, a lot of advanced equipment, you're not streaming your music performance, you're at home, you've got a single camera, you're talking to the camera, maybe with a PC microphone. So that one there, it's just so you know, actually, I should mention, Jesus 4 have all these products, so we're here thanks to them, so we should let you know that you can get it through them, especially. So yeah, that one's pretty easy, just like the Cam Live Pro. You just plug it, it plays, there's no special driver installation, it's just like a webcam. Before I finish off, any questions? Or you want to go back to the slide, see it more carefully, that's okay too. You mean the one up there or the one?
Like I said, he recommended to use a wired internet.
Yes.
But iPad doesn't have any.
Yes, so this device itself is the one that's connected to the internet.
All right.
So the iPad actually doesn't need to be connected to anything except via a cable on the side.
Okay, so then the iPad is not a transmitter, but
No.
that device is a transmitter,
Yeah.
right?
iPad's basically there to provide touchscreen control.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
How many streams out can you do out of that thing? Just one?
2 simultaneously. So, sorry, for those on the stream, that was how many streams can this device here, the Stream Live, do simultaneously, and that's 2 at once, 2 platforms. Yes, so the question was that, are there only HDMI interfaces on this device? And for video, yes, that's the case. There's only HDMI interfaces. But you can convert from another interface. Would anybody else like to ask any questions?
Actually, I want you to talk about the graphics, because that's the coolest thing about this thing. It's like the PNG graphics and multiples and stuff.
Oh, okay. I can go in depth on that. So what I might do, sorry.
Yeah, switch back to the camera and show that, because that's like the killer function of this thing.
Yeah. So what I might do is I'll bring up an editing pane. I'll put down my... All right, so what you'll be able to see is at the moment it's got the full camera up here. It'll be a bit delayed from what's actually happening on the stream. But you'll see an overlay. You got text and images. So if you've ever seen a broadcast on TV, at least, even on the news, you'll see some scrolling bar down the bottom, woman eats dog or something, I don't know.
We can see your hand. We can see your hand.
Yeah, fair enough. Just been warned that I'm doing this to you guys, so...
Practice.
Yep, that is true. So, right. Yep, so right here, you'll see you can add in text, images, and that's from the iPad. That's not my iPad, so I better not show you someone's private image. So, yep. So down the bottom, though, I mentioned free input. So there's, on the left here is one input. Over here, you'll see, it's a little hard to see, but there's an A and B. So that's the secondary input I mentioned. You can either select HDMI A or HDMI B. And down here on the right, you got a background, but you also got dual screen, which is basically you can do what you saw earlier, a little bit something in the top right, some, half if you want that. Yeah. So, and then once you save it and you apply it, you can instantly put it up to the stream and away you go.
You mean that when there is other system which is the support subtitle, then that device can combine that to the screen?
Yeah, so if you do have subtitles on one input, for example, and video on the other, you can have the subtitles rolling along. This device adds in static text or static images, so it won't be rolling text like a broadcast that you add in through here. But if you have the input already providing the subtitles, that's possible. Correct, yes.
Excuse me, Jeffrey, we have one question on YouTube live.
Yep. Which product? So I can.
Yeah, so Dylan is asking us, would it be possible in future to connect the app via Wi-Fi rather than that cable?
Oh, I don't have the answer, but from my understanding at this moment, they'll be sticking to having a cable connection directly from the iPad.
I might also jump in and talk why that's probably a very important thing. As if you heard me speak before about cables over wireless, you would just, again, hate to have someone come in there, be on the same SSID or the same channel and start downloading Candy Crush on 100 devices. It's going to knock the iPad off. So having a cable there ensures that the system keeps working. I'm not even paid to talk about the products, to be honest with you. It works. I've tried to break it. I broke it once. Then they did a software update, and I couldn't break it again, which was really annoying. So it's really, yeah, it does what it says on the box.
Here we have another question, also from Dylan. Is there a global key option rather than that per input?
Sorry, could you repeat the last sentence?
Yeah, sure. Is there a global key option rather than that per input?
Global key option. Could they explain it?
Let me clarify.
That's all right. So,
I'm guessing you're talking about a global chroma key thing. I don't know. Yeah, I'm looking at the questions over here as well. Yeah, Dylan, if you ask that question again, maybe a little bit more detail. But if you have a look on the actual unit, if you want to switch back to the actual screen there that shows the unit, down the bottom there's a whole heap of hard keys, and they relate directly to the scenes that are actually on the device. So when you build up, you've got your camera shot, you've got your picture-in-picture shot with, as we saw before, with me over the top of the slides. You build those into those 8 preset buttons. And that's what they do. So they're not just individual camera selections, they are actual scene selections. And you can actually do your chroma keying in each of those scenes as well. So I think that might be the key question you're asking about there. Can you set up a key per scene? Yes, you can. It's not limited to the input. So if you wanted to, you can reveal the fact that you're not in front of Mount Fuji, that you are in front of a green screen. I think that covers it.
yeah, nothing to add there. Yeah, okay. Actually, if there were no more questions, well, I actually want to thank you all for coming. But before we go, I think
Oh yeah. Okay, we have Dylan clarifying the questions. So is there a global key option rather than that per input as to overlays while switching cameras? You got that, Adrian?
I might as well try and answer. I've only used the product a few times. So yes, when you are switching between cameras underneath it, there's an A and B camera that you can switch between, and you can have the overlays on another input. For example, if you've got something coming from Pro Presenter or something for lyrics, you can have the lyrics going and then switch between two cameras. That's probably the easiest way of answering that. And you put that on 3 different scenes. That's how it works. So you can switch 2 cameras behind those lyrics or captions or whatever you're actually putting up on there. The cool part's the 4K input. So if you are a streamer, you can actually loop straight out, keep playing your game, and put your cam over the top, and it's not chewing up resources on your computer. That's kind of fun.
Yep.
I like the middle one. What's the little one? The middle one called?
So the Cam Live Pro, actually, I'll hold it up on the camera while he talks about it.
Yeah. So the little Cam Live Pro, that is kind of like the little baby one, but with a lot more. So it allows you to do the scenes as well as actually having a XLR input. So if you want to just get stuff into your computer for Zoom or for Teams or for Skype or any one of the online streaming products like OBS, XSplit, any one of those ones, that is a killer little box. The price point's actually really good because it's got inbuilt scaling. It has that pass-through again, so if you're a gamer and you want to capture your thing, it's really cool. But it's got an XLR input, so all of a sudden you can just plug a really nice microphone in and you're away. So it's a great all-in-one box that does all that stuff. The little USB-C Cam Link, is that it? Yes. Cam Live, the little Cam Live? Yeah, the little Cam Live is awesome. We've got, I think, 6 of those in our fleet now. We want the bigger one, but for other shows, because we just literally send out kits to people where they've got a nice camera, we've got a microphone that they clip on, and it's all cabled, because again, you've heard my love of cables. So we have a wide lapel that goes straight into the XLR. We've got a camera that goes straight into the HDMI, and it's straight into a computer, which we then control to do like Zoom calls and such like that. In other places where we just literally want to capture their laptop, we've been sending out these Cam Lives on shows for a while now, and they're robust. They turn up as a USB web camera. They just work. And they're cheap for what they are. That's why we have 6 of them. Yeah, we haven't broken them, which is testament. These things get absolutely thrown around in bags, and they just keep working. The mechanical engineering on them is fantastic. We've had really good luck with them. They passed the drop test. That's the main thing. Yeah, anything that passes it works.
Okay, we're just about wrapped up for the evening. I'd like to thank everyone for attending. Listen, we've got about 5 more minutes, so anyone who's online or anyone sitting in the audience has any more questions, please send them across. Look, I would love to thank Jesus for the opportunity to actually have this facility here. Like I said before, down at Right On Me, make sure you come down if you're in Sydney. They have a whole lot of musical equipment plus all the great Aten products that you've just heard about. I would love to thank Adrian for his wealth of expertise and knowledge and his great way of presenting, even though he didn't quite run over his presentation time. That's it. For the people that are here, please take your goodie bags with you and stuff like that. There is a voucher in there for any A10 products. We'd love you to come and investigate more. You can definitely come across to our office if you need to see more of these products, and we can definitely come out and help you in a solution as well. So I don't know if there's any more questions yet. No more questions? No more questions, Phoebe? Phoebe, questions? Questions? No more questions. Okay, so listen, thank you once again for everyone attending. Been a great opportunity, and I hope you've enjoyed it, and it's given you a bit more insight of what A10 can actually offer in our testing time. Oh, no. Oh, gee.
That's all right.
The last minute one. The last minute one. Last minute. Hang on.
Okay. All right. So we have Ian asking, does the screen come with the Cam Live Pro?
That's And all right, does the screen come with the Cam Live Pro? No, it'll be just. So if you're talking about the Stream Live, then no, that's just an iPad. If you're talking about the Cam Live Pro, it's going to be just the unit itself, not your phone app. No.
Okay. Okay. We have another questions from Anthony. How long can a cable run be when have with Cam Live?
How long does a cable run?
Yeah, as in how long can you have on HDMI?
Well, it depends on the cable. If you've got a fibre cable, it's $400, $500 cable. That can be up to 50 metres. If you, yeah, buy an Aten cable. They've got really lovely fibre cables. We use those as well. Again, try to break them and they keep working, which is, again, annoying, but good for us. So it depends on the cable. So if you're doing 1080p 60, you really don't want to go over 10 metres. You really don't want to go over 7 in reality. They say 10 metres. Or extend the cable. So Aten actually have a whole heap of HD base T, which comes from my commercial world. Why am I kneeling? That's the question. Hang on. Let me hit the right button and then come up and stand up. Okay. There I am. Okay, so it depends. So Aten, actually we're using one here. So if you can see on the live stream, there's up there on the screen is actually what's going out on the live stream. Stream. That's right. So that's actually being extended all the way down the back and all the way over the top using one of the Aten HD base T extenders. We use HD base T in commercial installations all the time to get things from boardroom tables to video conference codecs and back again. So it's 70 metres usually for HD base T. They claim 100. 70 metres is safe. I never push things. As I said before with the bandwidth, if you've got 4 meg stream going out, have 8 meg ready to go, just in case, because you don't want it to drop frames and turn bad. So we only run these at 70 metres. They've got fibre cables that go for ages and kilometres. So it depends on the cable. What was the other question? The one was about how long can the cable run be when have HD? Oh yeah, that's that one. Any other things? Beautiful. Thanks so much for coming, guys. If there's any questions, come and harass me. That's what I'm here for. Might as well. And we'll see you on the next one.
Absolutely. Thank
Beautiful.
you once again for everyone turning up and on the web stream. Thank you.
Okay, now let's do the proper thing where we show this system and how we actually get out of this. So when you've finished your live stream, because that's what we're going to do, is we're going to get the next one in the gate, which will be that. We're going to mute the audio because we don't want to hear me talking on this after this. And we're going to fade out and we'll use the T-bar because we can. Here we go.